All right, guys, I'm back for another week to answer your guys' questions. So make sure you get them in the chat and all of that. And I'd be happy to answer those for you, whether it be gear related, just anything snowboard related, what you need to have for dinner, anything like that. A few quick housekeeping things. So the wheel was moved to next week just because Avran is still on vacation right now. So he runs the wheel. So we're going to do that next week. Have a nice big show for you guys then. And Avran is still on vacation that I mentioned. So, he is still in New York, somewhere around Buffalo area. He might even be back by now, but and then all of our FaZe videos have dropped. So if you've missed it this week, we have had all 4 forms of FaZe out. So whichever one you're most interested in, feel free to check those out. We also had the top 5 all mountain freestyle bindings drop yesterday. So if you guys haven't checked that one out, definitely go check that out. I'm sure there'll be some good ones in there for you guys as well. But we're just going to get right into it, answer some questions, do a little bit of rapid fire answering if we really get too far behind. But for the most part, we'll just get right into it and see what we got going on today. The first question comes from Fuzzy Lumpkins III. Curious about your thoughts on the Rockstar Snowboard event in Breckenridge coming up. I mean, honestly, it needs it. Like, Breckenridge really hasn't had any snowboarding events in as long as I can remember, like for the most recent years. So, I mean, with Dew Tour being gone and pretty much being out of snowboarding now, where they're like, it doesn't make any sense for us, it makes sense to have Rockstar take over that. Now that they've moved it over to Breck, kind of weird in my opinion, where back before when it was at Copper, when it was Dew Tour, it could be all seen like right at the base there. So you get to watch half pipe, all that stuff, sit at the bar, enjoy yourself. Where this one, I'm not sure how they're going to have it set up, just because when I previously rode at Breckenridge, it wasn't really set up the best for like having a great user-friendly experience where you can just hang out at the bottom, that sort of thing. But I'm sure they'll come up with stuff. I mean, hopefully it'll help them kind of step up their park game, because as of recent, it hasn't been as like good as it has been in the past. Or when I first moved out to Breckenridge like 9 years ago at this point, they had a stellar park where it was like giant jumps, medium size, small line, just a bunch of really cool stuff out there, where as of recently, they've kind of shifted away from that. So hopefully it'll bring back the parks there back to what they used to be. So I'm all for it. I mean, whatever it takes to get more money into snowboarding, just because you get a little bit of outside money, that Rockstar money, that kind of goes a long way in my opinion. So I think it's a good thing for snowboarding for sure, where, I mean, the more contests we have that can be televised or like more accessible to your average snowboarder or just person out there to really gain the sport, I mean, might as well do it. I think it definitely helps. Hopefully the athletes are getting paid for it. They're not just putting their bodies out there for pennies on the dollar, that sort of thing. But for the most part, I do think it's a good idea. I mean, get a little bit of extra of that blood into Breck instead of just having it be straight up tourists the whole time that have no idea what they're doing. So I think it's a good thing. But we'll move on to the next one from Riley Robertson. Why does it seem like everyone is talking about FaZe and nobody but you guys have mentioned the new Supermatic deal with Bent Metal and other companies? Is it just the hype, or are they far superior? I mean, it's definitely a different style of rider for like the main thing, where a lot of like snowboarders, Supermatics really aren't designed for them, where Supermatics are designed for that guy that needs an easy way to get in and out and just something that's going to work for them. They're not super performance based like FaZe is, where FaZe got that huge push this year because it is a new technology where they are different than anything else we've really seen before. So I think that's where the huge marketing push is. As for why you're not seeing it from Bent Metal or from Solomon, is the other company that did it, I'm not sure why they're not pushing it super hard really at this point, where I feel like they should have been at the forefront, been like, here's our new boards and here's our new option for binding. But I don't work for marketing for them, so I'm not 100% sure as to why they did that. They're still a solid binding. They're just totally for different riders, like I mentioned before, and like we've been telling you guys pretty much since we've gotten on FaZe, where FaZe bindings, they are that easy entry, but they're made to just like go out and ride like a regular binding, where those Supermatics, they kind of do make that dead spot. But for the most part, they are just that like comfort binding that's going to have some performance to it where it's really has that emphasis on the comfort and the ease of entry getting in and out. So that's pretty much why they are the way they are. But as for why the other companies aren't pushing it, I'm not 100% sure. It kind of seems foolish to me that people are going to walk into shops and be like, wait, Bent Metal and Solomon have something going on here, and I've never known about this. That's a problem. But I mean, for the most part, it pretty much is just an Nidecker binding with different high backs on them and I think slightly tweaked straps. So, I mean, it's not a huge tech innovation for each company where they're like taking that chassis and making it their own. It's built on the same chassis. So I think that's kind of why the hype is getting pushed down on those. But for the most part, you know, I mean, FaZe is new and it's got its whole own brand behind it. So unlike Supermatic, I think that's kind of the deal there where FaZe is its own thing and it's not just made by Nidecker. So I think that's like the actual push behind it where it's like, we're going to be our own company, be able to license this out to everybody, but we'll see. We'll move on to the next one. And Riley, will just answer your question real quick from another one from Riley Robertson. Also, I have Supermatics already and really like them. Should I get FaZe or are they too similar and not to be worth it? Also, 245 should have gone with the carbon Supermatics. You don't necessarily need to have gone with the carbon Supermatics. Like Supermatics built like a brick house. Like they are durable. They are like heavily made. So like even if you are a bigger guy, that's kind of who they're designed for. You don't necessarily need it. The carbon ones, I mean, if you wanted a little bit more response to it, sure. But for the most part, I don't think you're lacking any performance there. Now, when it comes to getting like FaZe or if they're too similar, I mean, the only thing that makes them similar is going to be the ease of entry, getting in and out. Apart from that, like the FaZe bindings, they ride very similar to a standard binding. So you're going to get that board like flexing underneath the binding. You're going to get all of that response like you do out of a regular 2-strap binding, that sort of thing. So if you want to upgrade your ride to more performance, I don't think it would be too similar. But if you were just looking to pretty much just cruise the mountain, enjoy it with the family, that sort of thing, you probably don't need it then. Like, I'll just be honest with you. You could probably save the money, spend it when you're at the mountain, that sort of thing, or get more lift tickets with it. But if you need a performance jump, for sure, go with the FaZe. If you're just looking for something nice and comfortable, you could probably save the money this year. In a couple of years when your Supermatics get worn out, then you can go and upgrade it. But yeah. All right. Moving on to Dave Spence. Intermediate resort rider, average Joe size with Sasquatch feet, looking for a 2-board quiver or a single board, 5'9", 170, US 12, running the 32 Team 2 boots. Any recommendations? I mean, without knowing what you're on now or what you like, it's going to be kind of tough. But I mean, just based off of your boot size and everything, I'm definitely going with like a volume shifted board, like a War Pig, a K2 Almanac, even a Sky Pilot, something like that, or like a Jones Mind Expander, something in that party board realm where you could still have fun, kind of take it in the park a little bit if you want. But then also, I'm going to probably complement that with something directional or even like a directional twin board where you're looking at something like a moderator from Ride. If you want to go stiffer, you can go with the deep fake. If you're looking Jones, I would say go with like the flagship, because that is a little bit wider. You can also get that in a million different sizes, so you can definitely find one that's going to work for your boots and your weight. And then I would also look at like a K2 Passport or something like that, where I would go with something volume shifted so you could still have fun, have a little bit party board, something good for straight POW, and then go with something where you can take it out on just those average bulletproof days or really anything where you're still having a good time on it. So those are the ones I would recommend. You can definitely mix and match that, but I would go with something volume shifted and then just something directional. And that way you pretty much have all your bases covered, where I don't know how big you are into park riding, so I'm not going to really push something on it that like you, but those are the two main ones I would look at. We do have our 2-board quiver top 5s from last year. Both Avran's and I should be up there, so you can always go and check those out, and that should give you some extra ideas as well. All right, moving on to Ted G. Hey fellas, looking for one binding for the Jones Mountain Twin and K2 Passport. Coming off of the Malavitas, want something similar. Ride drone. Other recommendations? Thanks. Drone would be a really good choice. I really enjoyed that binding this year when I got on it. Normally, I'm not a huge fan of like metal chassis, but the way they've designed this one, it felt like a composite chassis where it absorbed a lot of that chatter that I hate from metals. So that's an awesome choice for you. They've really stepped that binding up this year where I'm stoked on that. You could also go with like a Union Force, a Jones Mercury, or even like a something similar, or even like a Nitro Team or a Team Pro, depending on how extravagant you want to go with it. But those are the three that you could just right off the bat just check out. You could also do like a Yes Drive, something like that. But those are what I would check out for sure. And I mean, if you have any other questions on it, you can feel free to ask us as well on here. Ask me, and then Avran will be back next week. So we have one from Brinsley Miles. Have a Yes Pick Your Line on Ink, a K2 Almanac, and an old K2 Twin for Rockboard. N+1. I mean, you're pretty good right now. The only thing I would consider getting would be like a straight carving board for just absolutely laying trenches. So you'd be looking at like a Jones Free Carver 9000, or even like a Megadeth, or even like a Nidecker Mellow or a Mosquito. Actually, the Mosquito would probably be better just because you can really lay a trench with that thing. So that's what I would say if you're really thinking about getting one more board, just something really good for carving. So you can always check out the top 5 we have for that as well. But those are the ones that I think you might need out of there, because I mean, that Almanac will take care of park stuff if you really need. Just set that thing twin. You got your Pick Your Line on Ink for like POW days and just regular days, and the Rockboard, obviously. So those are the ones I would go with for sure. And we'll just move right on down to your next question there, Brinsley. Also, would you put structure on each board if you're running a Quiver? Are there certain types of boards or brands that you find structure more important? So, I mean, structure is important regardless. There are some brands that actually have better structure than others. So some right out of the wrapper, you don't have to structure. So like take your K2 Almanac, that thing's all good to go. You shouldn't have to structure that. Your Pick Your Line on Ink should have a very mild structure on it. And I mean, that K2 Rockboard, you probably don't need it just because it is your Rockboard and you're just going to mess that thing up. So, I mean, if your board doesn't have structure, so say like a Mervin board, if you're buying, or if you have an older one or anything like that before they started actually putting like base grinding or structuring on them, I would say you're definitely going to want that. It's just going to help it glide better, because they do have fine bases on them, but it just can become a suction cup, especially on that wet snow, if you don't have any structure allowing that moisture to wick off. So that's where structure really comes into play. But for the most part, like a lot of companies are putting it on. So like Capita, Ride, K2, Jones to a certain extent, they all have pretty good structures, if not really good structures, like depending on which model you buy. So it just all depends on the manufacturer and if they're putting it on at the plant, or if they expect you to do it after the fact to match your snow conditions. So it all depends there, really. And we got one from Michael Stacy just chirping in here saying rapid fire activated. It is. We're trying to get it. I know I went a little long on those first couple, but we'll get it back down and we'll get this rapid fire really going. But we got to cool the brakes a little bit because we could get ahead of our skis here, or snowboards. But we got one from Joan Jones. Is it worth upgrading from the 2024 Stale Cruiser with the green graphic to the new 2026 Stale? What has changed? So for one thing, the shape has changed on it. I think they did some minor tweaks with the side cut as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. This is the first Stale I rode this year, so just based on what I've seen in the past, it just seems like some subtle tweaks that their engineer did to them pretty much tweaked the whole line this year. So the main one I would say is definitely the shape. Apart from that, it could just be some slight tweaks on the side cut where it enters and exits, that sort of thing. But honestly, it rides really good. If you need just to upgrade it, I would highly recommend picking that up. That was one of my favorite boards for the season, where me and Avran both kind of we pretty much just fought over that board this year. Like, if one of us gets to keep it, which one? And I think he's going to end up keeping it. So that's totally fine in my book. But yeah, at least one of us got that board because we both really liked that thing and it was awesome. So, but yeah, I was a big fan of it. I would highly recommend it if you just need something. It sounds like yours could be possibly broken in. So I would say definitely pick a new one up. They're pretty awesome. And if you guys are just joining us, getting in here a little bit late, Avran is out this week again. We're going to do the wheel next week. So just save all those super chats and those hard-hitting questions that you have for him that I might not be able to answer. But next week, we'll be back. We'll be giving away some prizes, that sort of thing. But for this week, you guys got me, and we're going to do some rapid-fire questions and just answer anything I possibly can for you guys. All right, and we got one from Rich S. What would be a good way to get involved in backcountry riding in Summit County? The main thing is like pretty much make sure you have everything. If you have a buddy, have them show you, and pretty much just don't go anywhere you're not comfortable with. Always be checking the snow conditions. Go and dig a pit before you go out. Get really comfortable with that sort of stuff. Just because we do have some gnarly conditions here, especially in the preseason, the postseason, that sort of thing where avies pop off left and right. So the main thing is safety and always knowing where you're at and others are at too. So the main way to get involved, definitely go get your Avy cert. You can definitely meet a bunch of people by doing that are also interested in it. And just start off by going to like the hike twos, like off of the mountain where you have all of your gear, you know how to use it, or you're just learning how to use it, but you're right there where you're right next to safety. So if anything does go wrong, you can be saved nice and quick. But with that side country access, a lot of it is pretty much roped off if it's unsafe and that sort of thing. So, you know, just be nice and safe out there. But I mean, me and Avran, we don't go in the backcountry like that, so we don't really have to worry about it. But I mean, the main thing is have everything, know how to use it. But the one way I would say to get involved would just be going and getting that first Avy cert. Then you can meet people and kind of start your voyage from there and just keep going. But that's pretty much the main thing. And I'm sure you'll meet people out there too, especially in the parking lot, all of that jazz when you go to pretty much start go skinning. So, but we'll move on down to Kaden. TC, how do you know if she's the one? She skis, by the way. Well, you should know if she's the one if she skis, you can still put up with her. Like if you could still do that, then you're all good to go. Like, I mean, there's not much more there to it. So, you know, if you put up with her when she's skiing and she puts up with you while you're tying your boots, then you're all good to go. Like, you don't need to worry about it. It's all glorified sledding at the end of the day. Let's be real here. And, you know, she can always drive you home if you get too drunk in the mountain. So that's also a bonus. All right. Then we got one from Dean Shatta. I've never bought this much gear before in my life. Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, there are those years that it'll just happen. Make sure you're clicking those links. I have been going through last year's videos, going down in the comments and adding the links for this current season. So if you guys do see something last year, feel free to go down in the comments, and I should have one pinned up there. I'm over halfway through for our last year's videos currently. So if you're looking for something that we haven't published yet, you can always go click that link and it'll bring you right to that border binding or whatever you need. So we are taking care of that for you guys, just so if you're chomping at the bit to get something, you can always find it out there, and we're trying to post those links for you. So it is going to be a big year, I think, especially the way our summer's gone. I think we're going to get a bunch of snow here in Summit this year. So I'm very stoked for that. And I mean, Saturday, got home from Oktoberfest, walked the dog, and had snow at my house, and then woke up the next morning and there was snow covering the mountains, and there's still some up there. So, you know, we're getting it nice and early, and it's still staying pretty moist and cool here. So we're looking to be like a good start to the season. And I mean, Locals Day has already been announced, and so has Breck's opening day and Coppers on the 7th of November there. So should be pretty good. Should be cold enough for it. I mean, it's getting chilly at night where I got to start wearing extra blankets and shutting the window. So it's getting pretty good out there. And then we got Scooter Magoot. What is the best resource to figure out if a board is wide enough for your boot? I have 11.5 feet, so trying to figure out what my minimum waist width. I think 263 millimeter. Yeah, normally for anything above 11, I like to say you're looking at a 260 plus. So 260 millimeters or 26 centimeters and bigger is really what you're looking for. But there's no like set thing, especially, or there's no set measurement, especially if your boot is like a ride boot or a K2 as opposed to like a 32 or a Vans or something that's just big and chunky. So that is going to be the main deciding factor. Like on my ride fuse boots, I have a problem fitting into some bindings just because of how low profile they actually are. So like it can definitely differ, but I would say like 260 is generally a good place to look. Like anything smaller than that and you're getting close, but I would say around that 260 mark is like your minimum, and then just go up from there. But we got one from Ewan C. Grant. How would you compare FaZe 32s to the Union Ultras? So the Union Ultras, they're going to be a softer binding in general, where that ankle strap, if we're talking about the previous generation's ankle strap, feels a lot softer laterally and just heel toe wise. It definitely does. For the current season, heel toe movement, it is more similar to that 32, but laterally it still has quite a bit of play to it, where the 32s, they're going to be slightly more responsive than the Ultras are. I wouldn't say by much, just because of that ankle strap is still on that softer side, but just because the way the chassis are made, you don't have all of that lateral play like you do on the Ultra. So that's where I would say mainly it differs. Also, the high back on the 32 is going to be slightly stiffer than the Ultra, where on the Ultra, I can twist that thing all the way around with zero effort. On the 32, it does take a little bit more effort to it. So I would say those 32s are still going to be great for the park. They just have a little bit more of that all mountain to last year's 30 or that last year's Ultra, where this year's you can definitely take it all mountain, ride it, do whatever. Where before, I think that soft ankle strap kind of limited it a little bit more, but this year it definitely is upgraded. So it is a little bit more of a similar comparison to the current season's bindings for sure. All right, then we got one from Andrew Pearson. Have you ridden any wired boards? I don't think they're shipping to America right now, but I'm thinking of picking up a Recon on sale. So I personally haven't ridden any of the wired. Avran got on them last year and the year before, and I know we have a review for the Recon, so I'd go check that out. It hasn't changed since we reviewed it. But from the sounds of it, Avran absolutely loves wired boards. Like they make some killer stuff. They make some really good boards from the Recon, the Arc, the Devin Walsh, all that stuff, or yeah, the Devin Walsh, all that. Like they make good stuff. So, I mean, if you can find one on sale, I would say pull the trigger. If you need a little bit more information, just go watch that review on it, and Avran he'll get you all squared away on that one. But yeah, solid boards. They're made right there in Canada. They got good stuff. All right. So we got one from Model. What's with all the FaZe fad look? Wait, what? What's with all the FaZe fad looks pants to me? You drunk as shit, dude, or what? I feel drunk reading this. Old school looks like marketing aiming at the newbies and intermediate folks. It's a choice all the same. Yeah, they're not really marketing towards newbies or intermediates. Like this binding is definitely made for responsive riding, that more advanced rider, where if you've watched the videos, like I say in at least the Jones one, where I know it takes a few runs to really get the hang of it. And if you're a beginner rider, it is not going to be that user friendly, because you have to be able to keep your balance, step in, strap in while you're standing. It's not the most user friendly for beginners, slightly maybe more intermediates, but for the most part, I don't think it's really that beginner user friendly. Like if you wanted a really beginner user friendly binding, that's easy entry. You should probably go with the Burton just because you're not going to use it even close to like a FaZe's full potential, like a 2-strap binding. But I mean, I don't know if it's a fad, especially because of how well it's been received so far. I mean, I loved riding them. I rode them for a full year. Avran, he rode them and he even contemplated taking them and riding them for a full year. So I think it's going to be here to stay, especially based off of how many like you guys have been buying and like the numbers we've been seeing, where it's like, yeah, I think I think it's more than a phase where it's going to stay. Like it is, it's a solid bit of engineering in my opinion. All right, and then we got one from Joseph Zekeno. No, I'm butchering this. Sorry, Joseph. Curious about the garden snowboards. Have you tried them? I have not. I know Avran knows more about them than I do. But at this point, I'm not 100% well versed on those. So yeah. Sorry about that, Joseph. Sorry about the name too. We got one from Pedro. Hey TC, on the new Warden, would you pair the FaZe Katana or Blaster? I mean, you could go either or. I think the Katana might be a little overpowering for it, so I would probably go with the Blaster on there, just a slightly softer binding. But yeah, that's what I would go with. You can go Katana, but I would probably go Blaster. If you have an extensive quiver where you have some stiffer boards, go with the Katana. But just for that board, go with the Blaster. You're going to be totally happy with it. Jimmy Lee, which phase bindings pair well with the Capita Mercury? Pretty much you could put any one on there that you wanted. It wouldn't matter too much where you're not gonna have that like Katana, which is the stiffest one they make. That's not gonna overpower it where you're just like wasting that binding on it. And I don't think like the 32 is too soft where you're just wasting it on there either. So you could really do any of them. I'd say just pick whichever one you're most comfortable with and whichever one looks the most appealing to you. But I think all 4 of them are actually going to, or I guess 6 if you want to count the upgraded version of the Rome and the Bataleon. But pretty much any of them are going to work for you. So, you know, I think it'll be a good thing. Any one of those I would ride on either of my Mercuries, honestly, and I think I'd have a great time. All right, Hunter E. Hope Breck does a good job on the Rockstar event, but expectations are low. Me personally, Copper, baby. Yeah, I mean, I don't have high expectations for it. I hope it's just safe enough and their park crew is just well trained enough to not really have any problems happen there. But my main thing is it going to be easily accessible for viewers and all that stuff? But yeah, I mean, Copper was perfectly set up for it. So the fact that they did move it over to Breck, we'll see. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. Money controls all of that shit. All right, we got one from J-Man. Nitro Stiletto, best 2026 swallow board out for Deep Pow. I can't have any spoilers out there for our top 5s, but I will say it is a super solid choice for it for sure. It's Avran said he absolutely loved that board, but it is definitely up there for best POW boards for deep days for sure. He had a blast on that thing. All right, we got one from B Barker 2119. How does the feel of Shadow Fit compare to Skate Tech? It is a completely different feeling where Shadow Fit, it's going to allow all that heel movement and allow you to really transfer your weight back and forth, or from nose to tail, I should say, where on Skate Tech, it's the opposite. So you don't really have as much lateral play to it from nose to tail, but you have a lot more momentum when going from heel to toe. So when you go to rock into that heel or into that toe, it helps you leverage onto it. Getting over easier, smoother. It just feels like a nice kind of like smooth transition. Where when you're with skate or when you're with Shadow Fit, it's more of the opposite feeling where it's more lateral movement and roll to it than that heel toe. Where heel toe feels like just a standard snowboard binding. It's not until you start really shifting your weight, going for presses, butters, loading up to ollie, that sort of thing is when you really feel that that shadow fit kick in and allow you to transfer that power. Oh, I didn't even get to crack my seltzer water or my soda water. One sec. All right. We got one from Luke Saliners. Sorry, Luke. Got a 2012 Skunk Ape 180, and it has C2 power profile. Is that different from the current C2 profile? Yeah, because I believe that one had the horsepower profile, or the HP, so just a little bit more aggressive waving or like C2 action. So underneath your feet, you're just going to have a little bit more aggressive C2 than, or a little bit more aggressive camber than the regular C2, where it's pretty mellow wave to it. This one just seems like it's a little bit more scrunched up like a spring. So just a little bit more aggressive to it, where that C2 in it is a little bit shorter, and that camber zone's just a little bit rocker and a little bit taller on it, if I remember correctly. So a slight change to it, but I'm going to be honest with you. I know they have like 15 or something different camber profiles at Mervyn right now, and I have not studied them like I really should have, because I know they change names and everything, which I will have to do for this current season, but I'll just be honest right now, where they've changed it and I got to go re-look at everything. All right, so we got one from MJV14. What board or boards would you sell off or keep them all? Current Quiver, Pick Your Line on Ink, Basic on Ink, Mega Merc, Kazoo, Spring Break, Resort Twin, Retro Ripper, Got the Yes Extreme, pending pickup, and Howler on pre-order. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to get rid of a couple of them. So you got the Howler on pre-order, probably going to get rid of that Pick Your Line on Ink then. I think you have too much overlap with the Basic on Ink and the Mega Merc. So I would get rid of one of them, whichever one you like more, keep that one. I'd probably just get rid of the Retro Ripper, just to be honest with you, just because, I mean, if you already have the Howler, you don't really need that, and especially because you have a Pick Your Line on Ink, you don't really need the Retro Ripper. But it is a very niche board, so maybe keep that one. And then you got the Yes Greats Extreme, which I would keep that. That's pretty sick board. So that's what I would do. Or, I mean, if you're like me, I keep all my boards, so you can keep them all, unless you're trying to save space there. But that's what I like to do. I know Avran's in the process of trying to get rid of a bunch of boards. I really like to keep them. They all have sentimental value to me. There's a couple out there that I've gotten rid of, but for the most part, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to ride this every once in a while. Like I said earlier in the stream, I have two Capita Mercuries. One of them is completely flat, but it's a first board that was ever given to me. So I wanted to keep that one, and then I got a upgrade version the following year, and that one still got some life in it, and I like to take that one out on special days. But if it were me, that's what I would probably do. And we got a super chat from Krakota. Thirsty Thursday, 2/19/26. Mark it in your calendar, guys. Best place to stay in Summit County for cheap while keeping both of your kidneys. I mean, best place to stay in Summit for it? There's got to be some cheap hotel rooms, like especially after that time when everybody is left for that busy weekend, because it is the week after that. I would say you should be able to find something. I know there's a few over in Keystone that aren't crazy expensive that I've stayed at before I moved out here. Otherwise, there's like, I would just check out any place in like Silverthorne or Dillon where you're not directly right by the resort. That's probably going to be your best bet. Otherwise, I mean, if you want to stay in Leadville, you could possibly find some cheaper stay up there where you're pretty much right next to where we're at Thirsty Thursday, and you're a short drive from Copper. But I mean, that's probably going to be your cheapest, is going up to Leadville. But apart from that, Frisco or Dillon or Silverthorne is going to be the best option for you. Oh, Hunter E's gotcha. Hunter E says Leadville has cheap hotel called Roadway Inn. It's like $90 a night for Thirsty Thursday week, I think. So pretty cheap. Yeah. I mean, that's probably going to be the cheapest that you can possibly have there. All right. We got one from Steve. Got a great deal on the Weston backwoods, but it was available only in a 160 or 163 wide. Went with the 163 wide because of the height, 210 pounds, but only have a size 9 boot. Too wide? Probably going to be too wide, but luckily you should probably only be riding that board in the POW. So width isn't as much of a problem when you're on fresh POW as opposed to when you're just on smooth groomers. So it might be a little wide for you, but if you got a smoking deal on it, you should be fine there. And we got one from Bart Simpson's Head. Got some 2024 Union Force bindings for all mountain rad dad riding, but was wondering what of the 4 flavors of FaZe would be a good equivalent stiffness, flex, comfort? I mean, they're in between, where I would say it could either be the Bataleon Blaster FaZe, or it's probably going to be the Jones Mercury FaZe, where I think it kind of sits in between those two, where because the Jones Mercury, has a full composite chassis to it, it doesn't quite have that same feel like the Force does, where on the Bataleon, you do have that metal chassis with the composite under. So that would probably be the most similar. That being said, it does have that asim wrap, so you're not going to get quite as much power out of it as you do the Force. So just keep that in mind. But for the most part, I would say that Bataleon is going to be the closest when it comes to overall flex, stiffness, and comfort for you. And we got one from Michael Jackska. Do you ride a narrower stance on your POW boards? I don't. I ride the same stance no matter what. Really, like, that's just what's most comfortable to me. So my width always is going to be the same. My angles might change here and there depending on the day or how I'm feeling. But for the most part, like, it pretty much will stay the same. Once I set it up for the year, be like, okay, here's my width, here's my angles. That's pretty much what it is. Like last year, I changed my width and my angles just a little bit throughout the year, just to, as my body was changing from riding so much, those changed. But for the most part, they stayed the same. If anything, I would rather be more narrow than too wide on my stance, but that's just me. Otherwise, no, I keep it the same. So does Avran. And we have one from Adam Rouse. Hey TC, what's your thoughts on Ride Benchwarmer and Warpig for a 2-board setup? Been on a Katana Mercury for the last 3 seasons. Would the Benchwarmer be noticeably more aggressive? Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's a great 2-board setup for sure, where you can ride that Warpig in POW, having fun party board, and then you got your Benchwarmer for just like all mountain cruising and for ripping up the park. So on that front, it's a great choice for sure. Will you notice a difference? Yes. You're going to notice a difference between the Benchwarmer and the Mercury pretty much right off the gate. So that Benchwarmer, you do have rocker in it. It doesn't quite feel like you have as much rocker as what's in there because of the edge hold on it. And you're also going to have an asymmetrical side cut. So those heel side turns are going to feel way better than they do on that Mercury, where you're going to notice them just engaging way quicker than before. So that will be something that you'll notice, but for the most part, I don't think you're going to be upset by it. Like that Mercury is enough board where you can transition into the Benchwarmer and still have a good time on it and not have to worry about totally getting your ass kicked. So I think it is a noticeable step up, but not like, oh my God, I'm going to die here. If you're coming from, say, like the Resort Twin or like an indoor survival, then I'm like, okay, that's a huge jump up. But because you're coming off the Mercury, I think you're going to be totally fine with that. We already answered that one. All right. So we got one from Joachim Engdahl. What do you think about the new Rome Ravine Pro for this season compared to the old ones? Does the new model ride shorter? Looks like it from specs. No, I didn't notice it riding any shorter. Where I rode the Ravine, Avran rode the Ravine Pro. I noticed that the Ravine actually felt damper than it has in the past, where I really enjoyed it. It felt slightly stiffer than the previous model, where when I rode the previous one, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to need the Pro over the regular. But honestly, I really liked the regular Ravine this year, where it felt great. It didn't ride any shorter. It had actually better pop than the previous one. So keep that in mind. I know Avran said the Ravine Pro rode a little bit more reactive this year, but for the most part, it was a solid board. Like I absolutely loved it. Where I was like, I can get on this thing and keep ripping this, like no problems whatsoever. And on the previous one, as I mentioned, I thought it needed a little bit more, and that's where the Pro came in. But overall, that little revamp they did on it, it was awesome. I really liked the regular Ravine quite a bit, actually. Oh, and then we got the man himself, the angry snowboarder. Do a flip. I will not be doing a flip today, but maybe later. Huntery, pop a button. Not yet. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But get your questions in, because I'm running out of questions, guys. And we'll go to all right, Huntsman83. About to test out the Ride Moderator 161 wide surprise POW day. That's dope. That'll be a sweet one for a surprise POW day then. Like, I'm assuming you're in the Southern Hemisphere really enjoying it, but yeah, you're going to really enjoy that board. Me and Avran both did. And another one from Avran. All boards are rock boards if you believe in yourself. That's somewhat true, because I will get a straight up core shot on a board and be like, well, this is turned into a rock board now. So once you get it's like owning a truck. Once you get the first dent, the other ones don't matter after that. It is what it is. You're not fixing it. And we got one from Daniel Newman. Hi, TC, looking for a low-angle tree POW board for Japan for a Rad Dad intermediate rider. Is the Amplid Psychonaut much stiffer or more aggressive than the 6-stick? Yeah, so it is going to be quite a bit more stiff than the 6-stick is. As in terms of aggressiveness, it still will be pretty aggressive compared to, especially if you're talking about this year's 6-stick, which feels really soft. So at 6-stick, it's going to be a good choice for you, where it's a chill, soft board. I would probably say, for like a low angle tree POW board, you're going to be wanting something like a Service Dog from Rome, or like a Jones Mind Expander, or even like a McWayfinder 3 from LibTech. That's going to be a great choice for you as well, where that was probably one of the best days I've had in the trees. Or you could even do like a Jones Hovercraft, where you still get that volume shift and really be able to wiggle that thing in and out. But yeah, to answer your question, it's going to be quite a step up from what you have in a 6-stick for sure. All right, we got one from Chef Drew. To do MAME 666. Probably going to pull the trigger on an indoor survival today. 10.5 boots, 185 pounds, 158 wide, or 160. Thinking the 158 wide, but want to get validated. Yeah, honestly, Drew, I would probably go with the 58 wide for you, especially because those 10.5 boots. It is also, I know you want to get back into riding rails and everything. That extra width is going to help you when you start board sliding and that sort of thing, again, just because it's going to make it a little more difficult for you to like toe in or heel into a rail. So that width is definitely going to help you. It might be a little bit slower in transition for you, but I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with that thing and how it handles on rails for you. So I'd go with the 58 wide. You are validated, sir. Michael Jackska. TC, what part of Serbia is your family from? Uzdin, Serbia is my lineage. You know, I'm not 100% sure. My aunt knows exactly where we came from. I know we're from on the right side of Serbia, like closest to Russia. So I'm not 100%. I'll look that up and I'll get back to you on that one. That would be interesting to know though. And another one from Avran. TC, will you do a 4-hour live stream if and only you guys super chat $1,000? I mean, that's going to cut into some football time. We got a big Buffalo game. You know that, Avran. You were just there today. But maybe I could bring the TV in here. I'll watch the TV and I'll dictate everything that happens to you guys if we do that. If we get $1,000, I can hang out for an extra 2 hours. All right, Hunter E. Are you going to be dailying the FaZe Mercuries or the Mercury? Yeah, FaZe Mercuries again with the Jones Stratos 2.0 again. If not, what will you be on? As of right now, I think I'm going to be riding the Commonwealth with the FaZe Mercuries on it. I think I'm just going to save that Stratos for the for my bank slaloms, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. We'll see what happens for the year, but at this point, I think I'm going to go with the Commonwealth just because of how fun that board was last year, and it was just a nice, easy ride for me. So I was like, you know what, this just makes sense. I can do everything I want on that board, and I don't feel hindered in any sort of way in any of my riding. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, the plan is to stick with the Mercuries. So, you know, if they come out with something new and they want me to try it, I'll hop on those. But at this point in time, I'll still be on my current Mercuries. So yeah, I'll be on those inline ones with a K2 Commonwealth. And then I'm not sure on boots yet. I mean, I still have my ride fuses that I absolutely love, but K2 was gracious enough to send us a pair of size 10 Ortons, and I'm very interested in those. I put them on. They felt really good. So I might give those ones a shot. We'll see. But I'm not 100% sure on my boot yet. I still have my fuses. So if anything goes wrong or if it just doesn't feel right, I'll just go right back to those with zero issues because I do love that boot. I've got so many pairs of them. And we got one from Mike T. Will the last 2 hours be with all the buttons removed? We can call it a TC After Dark if we do that. That could work. No buttons, just a wife beater on. Actually, don't even own one of those, but hey, Herbs. All right. And we'll go on to Andrew Hernandez. Brokey, Dinosaurs Will Die, 160 ultra wide Power Reaper on my first day last season. Good stiffer, wide as possible replacement. I mean, a good replacement for that board, you could really do a lot, actually, where I would say go with like a Jones hovercraft. That would be a great choice for you where it's going to be plenty stiff for you. You could even size up on it. It'll still turn for you, no problem. The first year I rode it in a 160, which is supposed to ride like a 165 to a 167, depending on weight. But I had zero issues with that board, and it was a total blast for me. Otherwise, you could do like a Ride Psycho Candy or even like a K2 Excavator. Trying to think what else would be really stiff for you. That would be the Rome Ravine Pro would be a really good one for you, where that's going to be quite a bit stiffer than what you have on that Power Reaper. So those are the ones I would recommend. I know they don't have quite as fun of a shape as the Power Reaper does, but I think you're going to really be happy with their performance overall. From Nick Larson, since Avran is gone, what is your favorite Burton board? Winky face. I mean, my favorite one back in the day was the Trick Pony, where it had a double indented nose and tail. And I actually have the sweatshirt of it, but they made it, the graphic, into a sweatshirt, board bag, the whole set of luggage. That was my favorite board they ever made, and then they promptly got rid of that the year after. So, you know, they're good at killing the good stuff really fast. So that was my favorite one that I've ever ridden. Otherwise, I got on a Burton Fish, and that board absolutely sucked. That thing was one of the worst power boards I ever ridden, where that thing did not actually float at all in POW. It surprised me because I threw a fresh wax on it, fresh structure, took it out of the like rental fleet, and that thing just sunk in every and like 6 inches, a foot, didn't matter. It just sunk right on me. I'm like, oh crap, this is the worst board I could have taken out today. I know. All right, to the next one. Riley Robertson. Hi. Are any of the Colorado resorts on the Indy Pass worth it? I didn't see any on there that you guys ever mentioned. I'm not 100% sure what's on the Indy Pass. I know if you get Loveland, I know I've hated on it in the past quite a bit, but if you get a POW day at Loveland, it's one of the coolest experiences ever. Like, that's one of the best mountains. It gets super sopped in. You can't really see much there, like, but it's just a great time. So that's a good one. I'm not sure if Sunlight's on it, but that mountain's absolutely awesome. But yeah, I mean, I would say so. Like Echo, I've heard is a pretty fun mountain, especially if you're just looking to get outside of the city for a little bit. But I'm not 100% sure what's on the Indy Pass in Colorado. But honestly, all those small resorts are sweet. Like we go to the big ones because it has everything we need for testing and everything. But like going to say even Sunlight when we make it there and like Carbondale and stuff, it's so rad. Like it's a blast from the past where you see a bunch of old rental equipment, bunch of people like riding in jeans and just there having a good time where nobody's taking themselves seriously. So like it is a breath of fresh air to go to those tiny mountains and be like, man, this is how it should be. Like this is what makes it awesome, where you're not spending $20 on a hamburger, you're spending like $15 on a burger meal, then you're spending like $6 on a beer. Like reasonable prices, and they're like mom and pop owned. So I'm 100% for it. Like I would totally say do it if you can, and especially if it's near you, like that would definitely be worth it. All right. Nick Larson, I've heard the Grill Master was good. Of course, they axed it. Yeah, I've heard a few people like the Grill Master, but yeah, of course they did. That's what they do on everything. If you like it and it sells out, they're like, that was awesome. Let's just get rid of it. So that's their game. They make something decent, then they'll get rid of it. From Bart Simpson's Head. After 4 hours, at least $500 of that 1,000 should go to TC's Taco Bell fund. You know, I said it last week, but I think this is the week I'm going to Taco Bell. I'm gonna go spend a bunch of money there, where I just pig out and watch some football all weekend. All right, Jason Robertson. Hey TC, hitting up some PNW PAL, looking at the biggest size howler or maybe the 165 wide flagship. Also thought maybe 155 wide P-Seeker for those. Which and another you think would be which you think week-long trip? What the fuck? Looking at the biggest size howler. Which of those and others do you think? Oh, okay. I mean, out of those, I would probably go with the howler, just because I know the flagship's a great board. I like something a little bit more freestyle out of it. Also, I just like having that extra underneath my feet. P-Seeker would be a good option for you. I just don't know if it's got enough tail or enough surface area. And also, especially for bigger guys, I know that nose gets pretty soft. Like when I rode the size that was made for me, I felt that nose being a little bit soft, especially in that wet stuff. So I would probably go with the howler, or I would even consider going with like the Black Snowboard of Death. I think that comes in a 69 wide. It might even come a little bit bigger, but something like that. And then I would also look at even trying to think what's even like an Assassin Pro could be good enough for you. But the one that really sticks out to me would be like a deep fake from Ride for you, just because that's going to be stiff enough and it's going to have enough edge hold for you, even if you do get into like some some nasty shit, that's still going to be good for you. So those are what I would go with. Flagship's totally fine, but it's just not enough freestyle for me, especially if you're getting in a deep pow where you can drop some stuff and kind of have some fun with very minimal consequences. That's what I would do. And we got one from Chad Otterstrom, the legend himself. What's the best board for Switchback 9 single cork? I mean, Chad, that's a great question for you. I don't know. I've never done a Switchback 9 single cork, so that's a great question for you. You're gonna have to answer that one yourself, bud. Or we can ask Torg if you want, but he just had a new kid, so congrats to Torg as well. But thanks for stopping in, Chad. The legend himself, still absolutely ripping. He's a freak on the snow. No matter what he's doing, he's still got it. He's ageless. It's quite impressive, honestly. We got to take some laps this year, Chad. From Jackie Boy, when is FaZe doing demos at Copper? I know you have the juice. As for FaZe doing demos directly, I'm not 100% sure yet. I don't think they've made any scheduling yet. I know there's going to be the demo at Loveland this year for, I think there's going to be a consumer demo, but I know Gravity will have them for rental, and then so will Underground as well in Breckenridge. So if you need to rent them and try them out, you can totally do that. If you make your way up to Steamboat, Powder Tools is going to have them as well. So feel free to stop on in there, give those guys some hell, drop off a case of beer, that sort of thing. But they will also they'll also have them. But as for like a straight up demo thing, I don't think they're probably going to have one for probably until like the heart of the winter. And we will post those when we know for sure if anybody's going to be at Copper doing that. We'll let you guys know at least a week in advance. So you guys can go out there. We'll probably be out there on that. Even if it is a weekend, I'll make a point to stop by, slap some high fives, that sort of shit. But yeah, as of right now, I know all of the reps and all of those guys are trying to get scheduling season out so they can teach all of the new young bucks and greenhorns in the shop about the new product and everything. And then once that happens, they get a quick breather, get their head above water. That's when they'll start doing consumer demos and that sort of thing. And Chad Otterstrom says, airbag or foam pit? Go. I mean, it depends. If you're learning in the half pipe, I'd probably say foam pit. If you're just learning for jumps, probably airbag. But the main thing is that who are you doing it with? Are you doing it by yourself and just locking yourself on your own little section of the mountain, or are you doing it with friends? Because if you're doing it with friends, it doesn't matter then. You could do either or and just have a good time out there. But I don't know. Probably airbag for ease of entry of getting out, where foam pit kind of seems like a pain in the ass to me with all your gear on. But that's all I got for that. I haven't really hit either of those. I'm old school where you stack up a bunch of snow, and if you need to learn a flip, you go and land in the fresh snow, and hopefully you don't hit anything hard underneath. Same way you had to learn, Chad. Or you go and do it a million times on a tow rope until you break your ass and then you can't move the next day. That's kind of how I learned. Like, butt pads have been essential since I was like 12, because I chipped my tailbone like the first year of snowboarding. All right, Jason Robertson. Is there no Solomon Dancehall Pro this year? There is not. That has turned into, I believe, the fast lane, where it got a slight tweak, got its own shape, but still the same guts and the same like profile. So yeah, no pro this year. If you want one, you're gonna have to buy somebody's, and I'm sure there's still a few out there actually. Joe Gunn might have one to sell you. All right, DWD Boards 12. Fell off snowboarding last year, started focusing on junk removal side hustle. About 24 pounds overweight. I started working out today. It's never too late. Wish me luck. Wish me luck, fuck. Yeah, I mean, good luck, man. It's not that hard to get the weight off once you really set your mind to it. Well, especially for me. But, just keep moving every day. Keep those joints moving. Do weird exercises. Do some yoga. I know, as bad as it sounds to hear, just do some, and your body will thank you later. I've been waking up just sore as shit in the morning. I'm like, okay, we gotta keep it moving. But you know, just start doing all that pre-round stuff before, and your body will thank you. A lot of squats, lunges, and hip exercises, and you're going to be all good to go. Another one from Chad. He's nice and boisterous today. Do you think Nate Dogg will get first chair this year? No, I think you're going to get first chair this year. I think you're going to get it this year again. Actually, we should have you in the parking lot doing some stuff for the first chair. All right, Space Monkey. I don't understand why people like bindings that don't have any adjustable heel cups. It is crucial for toe heel fitment and allows you to have more stance with options. What are your thoughts? I mean, as long as the binding has a way for you to center it, it doesn't matter if it has a movable heel cup then. Because, I mean, technically, if the binding company did their job, you could still extend that toe ramp out on it, and you're still going to be centered on the binding. So, I mean, I get it. I get why people want them. I get why people don't want them. But, I mean, in general, for me, I don't need it necessarily, especially for being a size 10 boot and a medium. I really have no use for it whatsoever. If anything, half the time I got to make my heel cup smaller. So that just kind of screws me over at the end. But, I mean, I totally get why they have it, and it is so much easier, especially if you look at like the way Ride has their heel cup be movable now as opposed to how it was in the past, where in the past you had to move a bunch of different parts, line it up, put it back on the board, check it, be like, nope, that doesn't fit, take it all the way off, and just fiddle with it left and right. We're now having that movable heel cup on the side. It definitely helps a lot. So, like, I don't think it's necessary. I know Avran's going to go against me on this one just because all the bindings he rides have movable heel cups. But honestly, in my opinion, you don't necessarily need it. And yes, Angry did answer this. Jack Boy, I believe Gravity will have demos for Jones and 32 maybe. And I believe you're right on that, Avran. Same with Underground. They have Katanas and Jones as well, for sure. And I believe they'll have the 32s. And Chad's answering that question from before. 11 foot should be mid-wide to wide. Yeah, pretty much. Unless your boards are like that mid-wide in general, like some Jones boards are, you'll be good. Smashity, pop a button fund. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. We can start popping some buttons in here. All right. And we have one from JSH3113. Heard that the fuse is stiffer than the Lasso Pro. Is that mainly the tongue? I'm thinking about switching to the fuse. Yes. So that's pretty much what it is. The toe, because they are going to have the same heel spine on it. So on the fuse, you also have that same material on the heel there, that urethane. It's also going to be on the tongue. So it's going to stiffen it up a couple notches there, depending on your weight. So just keep that in mind, but it is going to be stiffer than that Lasso Pro. You're also going to have a hard toe box on it. So with that Lasso Pro, your toe could push into the end of it. It would kind of want to move for you. You're not going to quite get that same movement with the fuse, so just keep that in mind. But overall, it is a stiffer boot. There's a reason that I still ride the fuse as opposed to the Lasso Pro. Excuse me. But that's what I would probably recommend it, especially if that Lasso Pro fits your foot really well. You can just step up to the fuse and you're going to be totally happy with it. And just a little PSA from Avran for everybody. Wired is shipping to the US. They found a way to do it. So there you go. They will be shipping. But you just have to figure it, or they're going to figure it out for you. I know me and Avran have talked about it this week, but I'm not 100% sure on it. So I just don't want to tell you guys, get y'all excited and have it'd be totally wrong and be like, you're an asshole. So until they figure it out, I'm sure they'll tell us. We'll tell you guys. But at this point, they're working on it. And Jason Roberts, are you guys gonna do the Ski Cooper again? Yes. So we just talked about that. 2/19/26. We're gonna be doing Thirsty Thursday at Ski Cooper, so get that in the books if you guys plan on attending. It is super fun. We kind of make it into a day or two event, depending on, and we do have that happy hour the night before for a little meet and greet action, get to hang out, talk with everybody, get to know people before you go up there instead of it being kind of awkward for the first few hours when you get out there, being like, oh, we like to snowboard together, that sort of thing. Now it's like, oh, like I know you by name. So feel free to come to that as well. It will be at Castaways, the highest tiki bar in the world. So we'll be there. Avran's favorite spot for sure. Most of your guys' favorite spots in Breck because it is awesome. So yeah, they will be doing it. And make sure you do buy your lift tickets in advance. That way you get the best rate. And if you did come last year, bring that little card because that's what they're going to reload for you. Don't be an idiot like me and lose that card because you're going to need it. And we got one from Scooter Magoot. Looking at some stiffer boards, Flagship, Ultra, or Flagship Pro, Alchemist, should I go a little shorter to make it easier to handle and more nimble? No, because that kind of defeats the purpose at that point. Where when it comes to the Flagship Pro or the Ultra, you don't really have to downsize that much because of the taper and the way it's set up. It's still going to be a pretty nimble board. You're just going to have to put a little extra force into it. But honestly, that Ultra Flagship or that Flagship Pro, which is what it's called now, totally fine. Like I ride the Alchemist in a 157, and that's just the size I pretty much ride every board at. So I didn't have to go any shorter on it, and it still felt pretty nimble to me, especially because it's not a wide board by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't think you have to, especially if you do go shorter. It's just going to make it a little bit softer and might not be as much as what you're looking for. So keep that in mind. But I would just get it true to feel. If you're a little bit worried about it, maybe don't just jump up to that. Instead of getting the Alchemist, maybe go with like a Commonwealth or a Passport, something like that. And that way you don't have to sacrifice like it being less nimble or anything. So that's what I would recommend. But I wouldn't go any shorter. It just defeats the purpose of the board then. All right, Michael Jackson, Uncle TC. Well, I don't know if I'm uncle yet, but regarding calf shims, where is the ideal place to put them on the liner? Level with calf or just below calf muscle? So it depends really. Like depends how your boot's set up and depends how your calf is set up. Because if you have a muscle, like just a meaty calf up top and a really skinny one down low, like a track runner or something like that, that's where you're going to have some problems. So depending on the shape of the calf, that'll definitely like pretty much tell you where to put it. If you have a huge calf up top and you need to take up more space down low, slide it in the back below. I like to put them outside of the liner so it doesn't interfere with you sliding in or anything like that. But if you just need to take up volume in general, just not having a big enough calf, I would say start pretty much where the top of the liner like gets laced. You don't have to go above that because it's not going to have any support to get tighter. So right there, and then just all the way down to where you don't need it anymore, almost to your Achilles probably. But that way, that'll take up the most volume and not pretty much, it shouldn't cause you any discomfort or any pressure points that way. So depending on how your calf is shaped, that's really what it's going to come down to. All right. Another one from Scooter Magoot. Have you guys ridden the Liptech DPR? Looks like a nice low-cost option for the year. Yeah, I mean, it's their Avran rode it this year. It's their entry-level board, where they just wanted to have a new option for people out there and not have to break the bank. But excuse me. Wow, that bubbly is really bubbly. But I would say he mentioned it's a solid board. There's really nothing special about it that's like, oh my God, you need this. It's gonna change your life. I mean, it's just one of those boards. If you're looking for an entry level and you want to get something lib, it's a good start. But if you're looking like I have an extensive quiver and I need to like get something into it, I wouldn't recommend getting that one for you. All right, we got one from Samuel Thomas. Angry, I will get the Aeronaut 2026. I'm struggling to find the right binding to do everything with performance and light. What about the Union Falcor? Union Falcor is a great choice for you. That's like, if it's in the budget, I'd highly recommend getting that. It's going to have the performance you need. It's going to have that lateral flex to be able to rock into that board and really load up the tail to ollie on it. But heel to toe, you're still going to be able to power that board around. Because as I mentioned before about that board, is you need to put the power to the edge. Otherwise, you're going to be shitting all your turns. So keep that in mind. But that binding will be powerful enough for you for sure, especially with that ankle strap and that toe strap. They are the best on the market, in my opinion, and I believe Avran's as well. So I would totally say go for it. It's going to be awesome. Like that's a top-notch setup for you for sure. I would highly recommend it. And click the links on that. And Chad Otterstrom, who is the real troll of Breckenridge? You know, it was you, but now it might be Avran. He doesn't leave. He is the gatekeeper to Breck. So, I mean, this is the longest he's been gone probably since he's moved here. So, it might be Avran. He might be the new troll. You might have gotten your crown taken, but I don't know. We'll see at locals night. We'll have you guys battle it out for the ultimate troll. JP asks, he says, TC, I'm 6'2", 200 pounds with a size 11.5 boot. The 156, yes, Greats Extreme, too small for me. I ride smaller hills. I was wondering if the 156 will work without me booting out. Should I go 159? If you're not worried about weight and having that board just be too soft for you, just because 200 pounds is quite a bit for it, I think that board would work because you have that mid bite in that board where underneath your feet at the nose, that thing's really wide and it just gets really narrow in between your feet. So you don't even have to worry about it. You could totally do that 11.5 on it. Would a 59 be better? I mean, if you're going to take it out west, maybe go with the 59. But if you only plan on keeping it in like the Midwest or keeping it on smaller hills, then I would totally say, yeah, that would be much more fun for you than going with the 59, cooking down the hill and then being like, well, I made 2 turns. Time to go on the chairlift for another 5 minutes and then take 30 seconds to get down. So I think you would have more fun on the 59. Off the top of my head, I don't know the insert width on it, but I believe it should be wide enough where when I rode the 56 this year, my feet were barely over the edge. So you should have plenty of room there where you're not going to be too toe or heel heavy. You should have the right amount of overhang. All right. Another one from JP real quick. TC, how much you got the Bills spanking the Dolphins by tonight? AKA, what's the spread? And should I mortgage the house on free thinking of your advice? Don't mortgage the house on it. But, I mean, if you look at the track record for how Dolphins have played in Buffalo, it's awful. They can't deal with the cold. Especially, I'll say bet the over if they're wearing their candy-ass blue uniforms. It doesn't work in the cold. But as per the spread, I'm not 100% sure. If my buddy Duty hops in here, he's the spread guy. He'll be able to tell you all about that one. But All I'm thinking is James Cook's probably gonna get an anytime touchdown. So that's my recommendation there. But this is not a gambling advice show, so don't take that for heart. But I don't see the Dolphins winning, especially with how bad they look. They look like shit. All right. So we got one from Adam Summers, or English Adam. TC, I have a credit with Bataleon for any board. I'm 220. I love to bomb the mountain and trees. Any recommendations? Currently don't want to twin. Super chat's failing. No worries, Adam. I appreciate the effort there. I would say if you need something for bombing, I would either go with the Beyond Metals, or I would go with the Chameleon. And with both of those boards, if you need something for bombing, size up on them. Bataleon felt pretty soft this year, and that was like a consensus me and Avran both came to, where it's like, damn, I wish I had this board in a bigger size. So keep that in mind. The only one where I was like, I could ride this in the regular size, but I would want more out of it, it would be that Chameleon. So when it comes to bombing and that sort of thing, that's the board I would go with. Or I would go with that Beyond Metals. It just feels a little bit more reactive than the Chameleon does, but it still absolutely rips. It does have a lot of pop to it. So depending on what kind of riding style you're going for, if you're just looking to kind of bomb, stay on the ground a little bit more, go with that Chameleon. If you're looking to have a little bit more freestyle in you, go with that Beyond Metals. All right, from J-Man. Didn't Stale Sandback just win 2025 Natural Selection Tour event in Revelstoke, British Columbia on his cruiser using FASE bindings? Don't think FaZe is going anywhere. Yeah, he won. Pat Fava also won the Bomb Hole Cup on his 32 FaZe, and Victor De La Rue won, Victor De La Rue won the whole Free Ride World Tour on FaZe all year. So, I mean, I don't think they're going anywhere. And based off of those three guys, that's pretty clean sweep on three giant events in the industry. So I would definitely say, like, that's probably going to be probably here to stay. Just like you said, and I think that other guy pretty wrong on it. But here we go. All right, from Gary Goberville. Goberville? Sorry, Gary. Hey, TC, I'm help. I don't know what that means. I learned to board an old camber board, switched over to C2. Love the fact that I never catch an edge. I see a lot of new types of camber rocker boards. Would you recommend, or would you recommend to try? Yes. Especially if you learn on an old school camber board, I would definitely say get something with camber in between your feet, rocker on the nose and tail, and you're going to be very happy. Where you're going to get that edge hold to camber, but you're going to get that forgiveness of rocker there. So I would definitely recommend trying that out, at least going with like something on the softer end, where you could even go with like a Nidecker cheat code, or if you could find one from last year, a Nidecker score, something like that. Even a Ride Kink would be good for you, or like a Solomon Sleepwalker, something to that effect, where they're on the softer end, but they still have that rocker to make it a little bit more forgiving for you, where you're not totally getting thrown left and right. And then you can advance more into those aggressive boards if you want to, once you kind of get your skill level up. But I think by you getting on a board with camber and rocker on the nose and tail, that's just going to help you progress a little bit more. Also with that C2, even though you're not catching an edge, I feel like it kind of is hindering you, because you could be turning, end up turning too much, and then just kind of washing out, that sort of thing. So I would definitely recommend it. It'll also just make it so you can get on any board. If your friends want to swap boards for a run, you can get on theirs and not have to worry about it, even if you aren't the same level or skill level out there. And we got another one from Chad. He's looking for some trick advice. What's the best board for corking off jumps? Trying to train for the Rockstar energy drink contest. Well, Chad, I mean, it could be an academy for sure. I haven't ridden one, but the way I've seen you still corking and stuff, that could be it. I guess the one time I have corked last year was an unintentional cork, and that was on a Nidecker sensor team. So that could also be a good one because I lost my edge on the takeoff and just dipped my shoulder a little bit much. So I was able to cork that out and land it. So I was happy about that. So that could be a good one for you as well. Otherwise, I think it's just a skill issue, honestly. It doesn't matter the board. I think it's just a skill thing. You just got to get out there and just throw that meat. NG, just to answer your question, where the fuck is Avran TC? He's still in New York. He's making pocket bacon. He's repainting the house. He's saying goodbye to his father. He's doing all that jazz. He's visiting family. He's doing all the good stuff that needs to happen now before he leave or before the winter kicks off and Avran can't leave the county then. So, he's got to go there, take care of all that stuff, shake some babies, kiss some hands, get some pizza for us, bring it back here so we actually have good pizza in the damn county again. But, he'll be back next week. Next week, Avran will be back. He's also going to bring the wheel back with him because he took it with him to New York with him. Just a thing he wanted to do. So, he took the wheel. I can't use it this week. He's going to bring it back. All right. G also says, Capita Mercury with Ultras or Force. It depends the year on the Ultra. Force, you can do it, no problem whatsoever. If you are going to do it with the Ultras, make sure it's going to be this year's that have the new upgraded strap to it from the Falcor. Just because that old strap that they had on there, I don't think it's enough to really control it. I know Arthur Longo rides that soft binding on like his aeronaut, but he's also a pro rider and he's also only like 5'6", so he's quite a bit smaller than most people, so he doesn't really need all of that power. But for your average Joe, that sort of thing, I'm going to push him more towards the Force. Unless you can get or you want to buy this year's Ultra, then you can do it just because that strap definitely steps it up quite a bit. And Chad Otterstrom says, hashtag Camber study. And that is pronounced Camber. And we got a little something going off in the chats here with Avran and Chad. Don't worry, I have to buy the new independent 1.0s to review, so I'll have spare pairs of cloots. Yes. Yeah, hey, Chad, maybe we'll get you on some cloots this year. That would be fun. I won't get on them, but maybe you will. Let's see you rock. No, never mind. I was going to say, let's see you doing a cork with them, but then I think when you land, you would double eject like Scotty did. Don't do that. Don't ride those, Chad. You're better than that. We need to keep you golden, so don't ride those. And we got one from Smash Team. How do the Kazu and Alpha APX compare? Kazu is stiffer. I think Kazu is still slightly stiffer. It definitely has a more responsive ride to it, where because you do have that wood veneer top sheet on it, feels like it has a little bit more spring. The Alpha APX, I think, turns a little bit better, where you can hit those tighter turns when you want to, where the Kazu has more of that long drawn out side cut. So once you get into your line, it wants to stay in it and not get knocked off it. Where Alpha APX, you could change it. You can go find that side hit and be like, oh, I'm going to go hit that right now, even if you're almost past it. Where the Kazu, it's good at keeping its speed when it's on its line, but it doesn't like to change it too much from where it was. Yes, it is more user-friendly than it was before they added that rocker in the nose, but still, it likes to have that longer drawn-out turn on it, where the APX, you can kind of swivel that thing around and really get it. All right, Mr. Dell29. I love my new forces. I love it and have been validated for 3 years for it. Looking into getting FaZe for those powder panic days. What do you recommend? Depending on your power board, I would probably either say if you love your forces and you want to keep something like that, we have gotten this question a bunch today, whether it being on the live stream or in the actual or being the actual just questions through all of our videos. I would say it's your closest one to the force is going to be the Bataleon. And as I mentioned before in this cast, you know, they're not going to have the same flex laterally where the Bataleon, it's got that asymmetrical frame on it. So you're not going to get quite as much power like you do out of the force, but in general, it's going to have a very similar flex to it and ride. So those are the ones that I would recommend. But depending on your board, for POW, if you need something softer, I'd probably go with the Jones Mercury. If you want something stiffer, a little bit more power where you're just going to bust through everything, go with the Katana or the Stale Katanas. You guys are killing me with all these unit force similarity binding questions. And I think Avran's actually answering your questions about where to stay for Thirsty Thursday, where he said the pad or the block or whatever it's called in Silverthorne, Bivy and Breck, Snow Pine Lodge, or whatever in Frisco. Those are going to be your best options. All right, and we got one from Michael Jaxka. TC, would you rather go to Chamonix Longo side hits or Mount Baker? For never have I ever places to ride. I mean, I would rather go to the Chamonix side hits personally, just because I've never been over to Europe. I really dig the scene over there where I'm like, hey, they like to just kind of have a good time out there. You don't have a bunch of people or a bunch of ski patrollers stopping you and be like, you can't do that here. They're just like, we'll pick up the pieces once you're broken. So I kind of really like that vibe there where it just doesn't seem as intensive as it is here, where it's like, you cut me off, blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't really care as much over there. So that's kind of why I would like to do it. And I think it would be just cool to get over there and see just different mountains where, I mean, being in the Rockies, we know, but we don't get a whole bunch of above tree line stuff, which would be super cool to like be able to ride and just see kind of how he even thinks when he rides. Cause there's so many good spots in there where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't take it that big, but I see another transition to land in. So that's what I would think. But I mean, from Side Hit Euphoria 1, that Mount Baker part was nasty. Like, that looked really fun to me. So I could see both places, but honestly, Chamonix would be the place I really want to go. And I'm trying to get out there this year or next year. Like, I think that would be just top notch. Be able to just go out there, drink some espresso, go ride, go have a good meal for lunch, and not break the bank. That sounds perfect to me. All right, one from JP. Genuinely love this stream, man. Look forward to it every week. Always fun to finish work and then see the dogs live. I appreciate it. I really do. It makes it all worthwhile for sure. And I mean, having all these questions, I really makes my life easier. So I don't have to just be like, well, guys, I'm just going to keep talking here and not know if anything's all right. But, you know, appreciate all the support, guys, for real. Samuel Thomas. Yo, TC, I will order Aeronaut 2026. What's your thought on this board and what could be the best light and versatile bindings for it? I think I already answered this. I love that board. It's awesome. Just make sure, you know, when you get it, it is going to ride stiffer. It will break in, become a little bit more user-friendly there. But the main thing about it is you just got to put the power to the edge. When you go to turn, really feel like you're pushing into the ground and trying to move the ground underneath you. And that way you're going to get the best edge hold possible. All right. And we got one from Rishi Singha. Sorry if I butchered that. feel like I've been doing all right today. Any tips for getting a really stiff boot a bit softer? Got some Nidecker Index last year, and I feel like they might be too stiff for me. The main way to get them softer, pretty much just wear them, put them on, flex into them. The other thing you could do is if they're not fully formed to your feet yet, I've heard of people doing this where you wear them in the shower and just kind of flex into them. That soft or that water and everything could kind of break them in for you a little bit extra. But the way I've gotten really stiff boots to not be as stiff is just ride them, or you wear them around the house and just stand there. And as I tell people, just like use the boots to sit down. So when you're standing there, I do it all the time when I'm just sitting there bullshitting with people at the mountain. I'll just lean into my boots and use those to hold me up, but you'll just kind of flex into them and just use that front of the boot and just rest your weight on it and just bounce on it. And that'll pretty much mimic your riding. So that should help break them in and just kind of get them broken down. But I mean, you bought a solid pair of boots. So like Nideckers aren't known to break down like super fast. So, I mean, it is what it is. I would definitely say that's the way. Just wear them more often and just keep flexing them. And if they still don't break down, then it might be time to sell them and get a new pair. But that's what I would do. That's what I've always done when I put on boots. Just sit there, flex into them. The more you wear them, the softer they're going to get, just like any boot out there. All right. Joe Gunn is wondering, Academy demo at Thirsty Thursday. Well, Chad, that would be pretty cool if we had an Academy demo there. But the plan is for this year. Last year, we had 3 brands. We're hopefully going to have more this year. And as long as things like schedule out perfectly with our reps, they don't have too much stuff going on, we're going to try to get a few more out there. But, I mean, last year we had Stronda, we had Razi, and we had Endeavor. I'm blanking on the last one. I'm sorry if it was you that I forgot. But we had a solid demo. People were stoked on it. The guys demoing the boards were super stoked on it. So, I mean, hopefully we'll have some more this year. We're going to try to grow naturally where we don't just absolutely blow this thing out. We get into a bunch of trouble with the mountain and we can't do it anymore because this is the perfect place for it. So we're just trying to grow naturally and not have to like overdo everything. All right. And we got one from Guy Incognito. That's an impressive mustache. In the future, will we ever see TC with short hair and a big beard? No, I can't grow a beard. It grows in so shitty, like the whole time. It just comes in all Joe Dirt, white trashy. Like for some reason, it's straight up Joe Dirt. Well, it'll grow right here and then right here, but not right here. So, I mean, one year maybe this year I could be Joe Dirt for Halloween and just rock a mullet all year. I'm sure my girlfriend would love that. So that could be really fun. You might be onto something there, Guy. Now we got a boot question from Mr. Dell 29. Am I fucked with boot options if Masis Wide has been the best boot or the best fit for me? No. So that's awesome that you know that the Masis Wide fits you, but you can now try out like an Echo Wide or even a Dialogue Wide, and those will both fit pretty well, as well as you can also try out like a Lasso or a Lasso Pro Wide, which they do come in. So I wouldn't say you're fucked by any means. I would say you could definitely try out those brands and see if they fit, because they do offer wide sizes. I know Burton does, but they kind of have like this chode stubby thing going on where, like for me, if I were to cut off all my toes, it would fit me perfectly, but like it just didn't fit right, where everything just felt like a line instead of like having it be like curved like this. It just felt like straight. So it is what it is. But yeah, I would recommend trying out that Echo, that Dialogue, and that hopefully will be good for you. But yeah, I think I think K2 needs to make a stiffer boot in that wide option, because I have been seeing that more and more often where people are getting into it. They realize they need that wide, and now they need something stiffer, and they're like, well, I got no place to go. So that is one thing that I think they need to make. All right. And we got one from IK here. Are the push pins on the toe straps mostly for different size boots? Never quite sure on which is the right position to use. So it is for different boots or where you want that toe strap to sit, depending on the brand and everything. Like for what is it? For the Union Force, I actually have them off-centered. So like the ladder strap on the outside, that's pushed forward. The other one is slid in so it can center better, because otherwise I'm in between the two screw holes and it just never fully quite centers for me. So they're just made to really have it sit where you want it to sit, and then also be able to get it just perfectly centered over your toe or over on top of your toe, depending on how you want to rock it. So they pretty much put it there for your average snowboarder. They can just put the most toe facing ones out and just rock it on top of the toe. But then some people, like you'll see Pat Moore doing, he likes to rock it on top. So you can just slide that toe piece back and then have more of that on top ride, where it works for some people. But it's all about just finding the right thing. I use it kind of in a hybrid way where if I am rocking over the toe, I'll offset it just to make it perfectly centered for me. But yeah. All right, and we got one from MYQ. Hey TC, the new Kazoo graphics and the new Howler are very tempting. Currently have a skeleton key, Greats on Ink, and Archetype. What do you think? Mostly all mountain free ride PNW. I mean, I think you could do it. Like, it might be. Actually, I would do it. I would go with the Howler for sure, just because it'll probably replace your skeleton key at the end of the day. I think you're just going to like riding it a lot better, especially up in the PNW. But like, I think it would have a nice place in there, because that Archetype going to be great for POW days. Like, totally untouchable on those POW days. You got your Greats on Ink for like park, free riding, just getting fun with it, that sort of thing. But I think that Howler would fit really nice in your Quiver, where you could easily get on that thing, have a great time all mountain. The Kazoo, you could do it. I just think you're going to be more stoked on the Howler than anything, where you could still be nimble with it and still charge on it, where the Kazoo, it just kind of wants to go straight. And it turns a little easier now, but still it has that half pipe board feel to it, where you want to go fast, you want to go straight, and you want to go big. So if that's what you're looking for, go with the Kazoo. But if you need something just a little bit more user-friendly for going everywhere, doing everything, going in the trees, all that stuff, I go with the Howler. And we got one from Huntsman83. I always have to ride in my boots for a run or two. Then I always have to ride in my boots for a run or two. Then I have to redo up them to get them perfectly. That's normal, huh? Yeah, I do it. I know Avran doesn't really mess with this shit. And it was Nerd. Thank you. Sorry. This is way back. I'm just reading a comment. It was Nerd for the final one. My bad, guys. For the final one at Thirsty Thursday. Anyway, getting back to your question. That's normal for me, because I'll always get to the mountain, tie my boots up real tight, especially on a POW day. I get too excited. Like, I just need these things tight. Don't want to have to mess with them. But I always make them too tight and have to kind of loosen them up a bit. So that's totally normal. Like, I know a lot of people that do that, or a lot of people that will actually just purposefully tie their boots way too tight, go out there, ride for a few hours till their feet almost go numb, and then just like, all right, break time, loosen them up, and then pretty much just retighten them when it's time to go and ride. So I would say it's pretty normal. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's just a whole thing, especially in the beginning of the season when your feet totally aren't in form for it yet. That's where you're going to run into problems. And we got one from B Barker 2119. Thinking of attaching my old high backs to my boots so I can fit in with the cruisers. Don't do that. It's almost the opposite of like the Danny Cat's double tongue, where like I need a double high back. But don't. It would be really funny if you're walking around doing that though. But don't. And we got one from Daffy Drunk. Would the super chat from Daffy Drunk? Thank you. Would the 32 phase work with the leftover 2025 Nidecker Gamma? I thought that might be kind of cool. Is there an Evo link so you guys can make money when I order this? Cheers. There should be an Evo link for the Gamma for last year. If not, you can just click any Evo link and just pick it up and we'll still get the credit for it. So that's all good. But yeah, those 32s would work pretty well with them. That would be a sweet setup, especially for riding park, that sort of thing. I would recommend it for sure. That Nidecker Gamma, when I rode it, was one of my favorite boards. So I think it'd be a great setup for you. Feel free to pick that one up. All right, we got a couple more left we could probably get through here. Otherwise, I'm pretty much caught up. So we'll get to the last few, and then we can call it a day, and everybody can get on with their watching football and whatever they want to do on a Thursday. All right, from Steven Scott. What, in your opinion, should be the dollar amount for a decent boot, bindings, and board setup? For a decent one, I mean, I'd say around $1,000, to be honest with you, where you're spending about $500 on a board, about $300 on boots, and about $200 on bindings. And when I say that, I say you buy your boots first. Don't like, if you know you want to snowboard, or if you know this person really wants to get into snowboarding, buy the boots first. Don't be afraid to like splurge on the boots. Get them something that they're going to be really happy with. And then you can kind of fudge it from there on out, where once you get something they're going to be comfortable in, they're going to be stoked on, they're going to be riding more, then you can get them that board that's even last year's, 2 years old, something even possibly used, where you can save the money. Same with bindings, where the most important, especially for a beginner or somebody learning or just getting into it, is definitely the boots. If you can keep them happy and keep them out there longer, they're going to enjoy snowboarding more. It's going to be less of a hassle for them. But around $1,000 is what I would say. Probably with the way stuff has gone this year with tariffs and everything, probably about $1,200. But that's if you're going in buying current season's gear, not trying to save any money, like buying last year's stuff. That's probably what's going to get you out the door for a really good setup, I would say, where they can progress into it and just keep going, keep it for a few years, and then slowly start cycling stuff out. But $1,000 to $1,200 will get you out there, I think. All right, Bart Simpson's head again. Seeing as you guys get a fair amount of UK riders asking for advice, any plans for UK affiliate links? TSA, the Snowboard Asylum, Absolute Snow, and the Snowboard Shop, etc. might appreciate a collab. So we worked with Sideways last year. Didn't really turn out for us too well. We're currently, I mean, we're interested in it for sure. We just haven't found the right shop or anything to really work with, but I appreciate the recommendations. We can definitely check those out. I can reach out to them, but we're working on it. We're going to try Sideways again this year, it sounds like, when they get stuff fully updated, but you know, and that's just snowboards.eu, but we're going to try. And I mean, we do appreciate you guys, especially with the questions and everything. So we're working on it. It's just a tough one because, like, us being located here and haven't gone over to Europe to see the scene over there, we don't really know who to work with and what is actually a really good shop, or what's actually like there for the people, as opposed to, oh, these guys are actually just owned by like a big conglomerate or something like that. So we're not 100% in the know about where we should start on that, but we're working on it currently. So that's part of my job as well, as figuring that out, but I'm working on it for you. And I'm going to write these guys down and figure out which ones, if any, want to work with us. So I appreciate that. All right. And then we got one from Arve Chris. Hey, TC, any idea on how much the Remind liners will soften after break-in and how long they will last? They felt pretty perfect after 4 full days of riding. Thanks. I'm not 100% sure. I know Avran's going to get out on them this year, so we haven't done any testing in that sense for them yet. But I mean, from the sounds of it, it is a pretty dense foam, and from what I felt, is it feels like a nice solid foam to it. So I think, I mean, the sounds is they should last you. I mean, on average, like about 30 to 50 days, depending on how hard you're riding, that sort of thing. But I would definitely say check back with us once Avran ridden them. But at this point, I'm not 100% sure on how long they're going to last. But I have a feeling, I mean, they put some time into it. They know what they're doing over there. So I think they're going to last pretty long, if I had to guess. All right. Eric Kim. Size 11 Burton Ion and Jones Mountain Twin 163 wide. Would a large, extra large Bataleon binding work, or do I have to stay with a medium large? I mean, it will work. You're going to sacrifice a little bit on performance. So that way, like, you're not going to be as snug in that heel cup as you would be if you're on the medium large scale, but they're going to work for you. I know the Ion isn't the smallest footprint out there, so I think you'll be fine, especially if you're just trying to save some money on it and don't really care how snug it is on the heel. You should be okay. And Joe Gunn says too many parking lot Pacificos as to why I couldn't remember the third brand there. Well, not as many as I wanted, Joe Gunn, because somebody didn't bring enough for everyone. And I'm looking at you, bud. All right, and we got Michael Mega X. I'm excited for Monarch's terrain expansion. Any thoughts on coming to Salida and check it out? Yeah, I mean, we'd love to get down to Salida. We talked about it last year, and we were on our way back from that heli trip. And we're like, should we stop? And we're like, no, let's just get home. It's time. We're tired. It's been a long trip. Let's just get back. But I mean, I'm stoked that they are expanding. Like, I got to do the cat skiing there a few years ago, or the cat snowboarding there, and that was one of the best experiences ever. The best snow I've ever ridden. Great crew. It was awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to get down there. I did like Salida a lot. That's also one of those places that's like just a little gem, like a hidden gem in the mountains there. That you're like, oh, man. But I'm a huge fan, for sure. Like, Salida, Monarch, it's an awesome place. Just don't go to Moe's and get the carnitas. I got it. And they had full blowout all night in a house full of people that didn't need to smell that. So just stay away from the carnitas. Everything else there, amazing. All right. We got one from Joe Gunn, super chat. Thank you. Have a soft shell when you do hit TC. What? I don't know what that means. Yeah, Joe Gunn, I know you brought 2 12-packs. That's not enough, bud. You know, between me and Ruff, we could finish 12 each. But get the last of your guys' questions in. I'm going to be on here for another couple minutes. And, oh, Taco Bell. Yeah. I am going to have a soft shell. I'm going to have 2 soft shells there. All right. We got this chat from Dylan. I have an algorithm, and I'm looking to get another board, a bit more directional free ride for riding Whistler mostly. What's your recommendation? Deepfake, alternator, E-Jack, Commonwealth, Howler. Those are all good choices. If you really like the way the algorithm rides and flexes and pretty much all that, go with the Deepfake. If you want to get away from it, you can obviously go with the E-Jack, Commonwealth, or Howler, I would definitely say. I think that alternator is just going to be a little bit soft. So if you want something softer, you can go for it. But I just think if you really like your algorithm and you want to go to something else, just more POW specific, keep that same feel, the alternator is probably going to be a little soft for you. But I think that deep fake is pretty much like that next direct step where like you get a little bit more stiffness to it, a little bit more reactivity, but it's going to float better for you. So I would push you on the sense of the deep fake, but you can't go wrong with a Commonwealth or a Howler either. Those would be two other good options. Well, and we got any other ones? Let me check here. All right, one more from Fish and Faith, North Carolina, or NC. TC, Union Ultras or 32 FaZe? Depends what you're looking for. I mean, you want easy entry, go with the 32 FaZe. If you want just that classic binding with good response, that's going to be nice and surfy, go with the Ultras. They're pretty hand in hand. Like as I've mentioned before, and this stream at least, like that 32 FaZe, it's a solid binding. The Ultra gonna have a little bit more lateral feel to it, or a little bit more lateral play. So just keep that in mind, and a softer high back. So that's where I'm at there. I mean, you could easily get either of them, especially if you're getting the new Ultras from this current season that are coming out. They're gonna be able to take you all mountain, and you're gonna be totally fine with it. But as for like if you're like, I'm going to save some money and get last year's, it's a different binding. If it rides like a different binding, it's just not the same. So if that were the case, I'd go with the 32 FaZe. All right, and we'll just get this one from Colm Bushman, Bushanon. Thinking of heading to Colorado from Ireland for a week or so. Any advice, recommendations, resorts to hit lift tickets, etc.? So what I would do if you're going to come out here for a week, ride every day, you might as well just go ahead and buy like an Icon base pass or like an Epic pass, something like that, where when you buy those, you can get discounts on lodging with that as well. So you could do that. But that's what I would say. If you're going to be out here for 7 days, if you go to any major resort, especially in peak season, you're paying at least $200 for a lift ticket per day. So I would say just go ahead, buy that pass. That way you can ride out here for all 7 days, or hell, if you buy the pass and you ride for 5 days, you already made your money back on it anyway. So that's what I would recommend. But I would say, like, I don't know if you've ever been out here before, but I would definitely say come out to like Copper's a good spot where it's not too far from the airport. If you can, go out to Aspen or even go out to Steamboat. You're going to love it out there. In both those places, they're not as busy, especially Aspen is a ghost town 9 times out of 10. I think there's one weekend a year which is X Games that the actual town of Aspen's busy. Otherwise, it's so mellow out on the mountain. You have the whole thing to yourself. It's awesome. But that's what I would recommend. Or you go out to Steamboat, and it's beautiful out there. Great runs. Always have fresh snow for the most part. Like they probably get some of the most in Colorado every year consistently. So keep that in mind. But that's what I would recommend. And if you're going to go stay in like Steamboat or something, there's plenty of options for like finding cheaper stuff. There's like Hotel Bristol, and there's a few places right downtown in Steamboat that you can just hop on the bus and go straight to the mountain. It'll take you like 15 minutes to get there. So that's what I would recommend. Don't even worry about driving. Like they can just pick you up, take you to the mountain, pick you up from the mountain. Like it just makes your life so much easier, and you don't have to deal with all the bullshit and trying to find a place to park and then hopping on the shuttle there. Just, you don't have to deal with it then. But all right, guys. Well, that's it for the last live stream until Avran gets back, unless something crazy happens and his car breaks down. I don't know. But it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Next week, we will be back with the wheel. We'll be back answering all your questions. Avran will be back as well. All those FaZe videos have dropped, so feel free to check those out. And if you have any questions or anything like that, you can leave a comment. We'll get back to you there. And the top 5 all mountain freestyle bindings also dropped yesterday. So make sure you hit that and see what bindings you're missing in your quiver. But, you know, it's going to be good. And yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.